Good systems aren't a substitute for trust. They're what allow trust to scale.
Very well said. Very well said. Hi, everybody. This is Rob Whitlow with the Beyond the Bottleneck podcast. And I have here with me, I'm so excited to welcome Vanessa Buckler. Vanessa, I'm so glad you decided to join the podcast today. I think it's going to be a great one for everybody. You're going to want to watch this all the way to the end because she's going to be telling a story that you're going to want to hear if you're trying to start a business or growing a business. So, Vanessa, for the people meeting you for the first time, what's the 30-second version of who you are and what you've built?
Well, thank you for having me, Rob. I am an entrepreneur and a builder at heart. I started when I was 13 years old. Straight out of college, I was already helping entrepreneurs build and grow their businesses. Then I spent 17 years helping build Omada Worldwide Expedite and Omada Worldwide Logistics into a multi-million-dollar operation. What started out as in a one-bedroom apartment eventually grew into over a 30,000 square foot facility with more than 50 employees and contractors. Then my life changed dramatically, and I found myself having to rebuild almost everything. Today, I'm building again, but with an entirely different perspective and purpose. I'm involved in business and marketing, real estate and development, apparel, and I'm beginning to build a platform around helping other people understand that losing everything doesn't mean your story's over.
That's such a great attitude to have. And that is where a lot of people who've experienced loss or went through a tough time find themselves just saying, holy crap, what am I going to do now? I guess I quit. And I've always said this, once you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of always an entrepreneur. It's hard to take that out of someone, even though they get beat down sometimes. Let's talk about your journey. What was the moment you realized your business had become something much bigger than you originally imagined when it grew big?
Well, the businesses never made it to the size I ever imagined them to be. I will say the pivotal point happened when I realized the decisions I was making weren't affecting just me anymore. We had employees, contractors, customers, vendors, and families, and my kids, depending on the company. There's a point where you realize you are no longer just building yourself a job, you're building an organization. And when other people's livelihoods become attached to your decisions, you start looking at leadership very differently. Growth changes your definition of responsibility.
That is so true. You start growing the company and then other people start being affected. It does change how you're functioning. Um, Everyone sees the success. What's a chapter of your story that almost nobody knows?
People saw the businesses, they saw the growth and the success. But what they didn't see was what was happening behind closed doors. I was navigating an incredibly difficult personal situation while trying to protect my daughters, my employees, and companies we had spent years building. Eventually, I watched much of what I had spent 17 years building unravel. I went from being the woman everyone thought had everything figured out to having to figure out how to rebuild my life from the ground up. And that season taught me something I don't think success ever could have taught me. Your identity cannot be your company, your title, your bank
So good.
account, or
Yeah,
your circumstances.
that's so good. That's so right. Because then a business can rise and fall. A business can have seasons of success and seasons of struggle, and you don't want to tie your emotions to how that business is going, people need a steady leader, right? So how did that season change the way you build business today?
It changed almost everything about the way I felt today. The first time around, I was incredibly focused on building revenue, cash flow, creating opportunities, taking care of people, and constantly pushing the business forward. Today, I still believe in growth, but I understand that what you build also has to be protected. I will be paying much more attention to financial controls, accountability, documentation, ownership structures, contracts, and making sure there are checks and balances in place. I've also learned that you can trust people and still verify. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. But probably the biggest change is why I'm building. I'm not interested in building something just so I can say it's successful. I want to build businesses that create opportunities, solve real problems, impact people's lives, and ultimately become something bigger than me. I'm not trying to recreate what I had. I'm taking everything I learned from building it and everything I learned from losing it and using both to build better this time. So the first time I learned how to build, the hardest season of my life taught me how to protect what I build and to be much more intentional about why I'm building it.
My business coach Paul Sylvester said this to me one time, and I will never forget it. He said, "Rob, it doesn't matter how much money you make; it matters how much money you keep."
Yep.
You can
That's
make
true.
a lot and not keep it, and putting a moat around that, putting shelter around that, is a super smart move. And most entrepreneurs forget to do that. They forget to build the right structures and understand the right structures. Starting over, what's like the first three things if somebody needs to start over? What are the first three things that you do or that you're doing?
Three things. First, I'd identify a real problem that people are willing to pay me to solve. And then second, I'd sell before I overbuilt anything. I'd get close to customers, listen to what they actually need, and start generating cash flow. And then third, the moment I figure out what worked, I document it so that I could create a repeatable system around that. I wouldn't spend 6 months creating the perfect logo and office website before proving the business model. Um, yeah, I wouldn't spend 6 months trying to look like a business. I'd start doing business.
And that is what keeps so many entrepreneurs just in a spinning mode. They're always waiting for the first for something to be built out again before they can really start. And they end up a year or two later. As a matter of fact, I was at a networking event and I met an entrepreneur who'd been working on his business idea for 5 years. And I said, yeah, that's great, but how many potential prospects have you actually talked to make sure your idea is even worth having? Like, who are you actually working with? So that's excellent advice, Vanessa. Okay, let's talk about scaling. If I could shift gears for a minute here. What broke first when your company started growing quickly?
Um, I would say systems and communication. When you're small, you can keep an incredible amount of information in your head. People can walk through your door or into your office and they can ask you anything and you can solve it. But that doesn't scale you. As we grew, processes had to become documented, responsibilities had to become clear, communication had to become structured. and accountability and financial controls became very important. Growth exposes weaknesses that being a small company would allow you to hide.
Yeah, absolutely. Growth will definitely expose any and every bottleneck operationally that you have for sure. What system, process, habit made the biggest difference in helping you scale?
I would say personally, understanding the numbers and creating repeatable processes. Revenue is exciting, but revenue alone, it's kind of what you were saying, it doesn't tell you whether you have a healthy company. You have to understand your margins, your cash flow, expenses, your productivity, and what's actually driving the profitability. Operationally, if something works, document it. The goal is to recreate repeatable systems so the business doesn't depend on one person's memory, including mine, because that would be bad. Revenue can make you look successful, but cash flow controls and the profitability is what tells you that you actually are.
That is an excellent point, because just dollars in the door is not your barometer for whether you got a healthy business or not. It's how efficiently you're operating. So, what's something you stopped doing that actually helped your business grow?
Trying to do everything myself. I think that's something almost every entrepreneur struggles with. I had to learn that just because I do something doesn't mean I should be the person doing it. Because as your company grows, your job has to change. You have to move from doing everything yourself to developing the people, setting the expectations, and creating the accountability. You can delegate responsibility, but you should never delegate oversight.
I think that's a catchphrase right there. Delegating the right way, the healthy way. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs try to lead through people instead of leading leaders, and the business ends up failing because they're not overseeing things. They're trying to run it through everybody. And yes, you may be really great at multiple things, but wouldn't you agree, if you are trying to run every single part of your business, that's just not scalable. You can't
Well,
grow.
people don't feel valued. They feel like puppets at that point, and they don't feel appreciated. They when you're trying to control everything. So when you give them the ability to take the reins and show you what they're capable of, then they feel like they're, contributing and that they're uh, helping out the business and growing it. You're giving them that somewhat of a freedom in a sense to show their gifts and talents. And that's what people need. They don't want somebody over them telling them every single thing to do because then they feel like they're not needed.
Right. And I've always said, there's one of two problems. It's either the person you hired really isn't capable of doing the job, and that's why you feel like you're having to do it for them, or or maybe just possibly you're you're micromanaging them and you're feeling like you have to do the job for them instead of trusting. And I like what you said, an old Ronald Reagan saying, "Trust but verify,"
Yep.
is what he used to say. All right. All right. In terms of leadership, what's one lesson you've learned about leading people that you wish you'd known 10 years ago?
I'm going right back to what you just said because this is something I struggled with early in because when you grow something, it's like your baby. And so trusting people sometimes can be a little bit hard. But you trust people, but build the systems. again, that verify. That is something very big for me that I struggled with. Early in my career, I think I viewed controls as though they meant you didn't trust someone. I don't believe that anymore. Clear expectations, accountability, the documentation, the financial controls actually protect everyone involved. And I kind of learned that through growing a successful business. It's very important. You can give people autonomy while still maintaining visibility into your business. Good systems aren't a substitute for trust. They're what allow trust to scale.
Very well said. Very well said. What's one myth people believe about successful entrepreneurs that's simply not true?
That successful entrepreneurs have everything figured out. We don't. We don't. We're constantly making decisions with incomplete information. I think what successful entrepreneurs become good at is making the best decision they can with the information they have. Learning quickly and adjusting when they're wrong and continuing forward. You don't need to know every step. You need enough courage to take the next step.
Courage. I think that's what the Cowardly Lion needed, right? In the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, which we're going to have that on the back of the shirts here.
There
Courage.
you go. Okay. What's one piece of advice you hear all the time that you completely disagree with for business? Or anything?
For me, and I think I even used to say this, but after going through it, I would say probably just follow your passion. Passion absolutely matters, but passion without demand, discipline, and execution can become an expensive hobby. I think you find where your skills intersect with a real problem and a market that's willing to pay for the solution, then bring your passion to solving that problem exceptionally well. Passion may start the fire. Discipline and execution keeps the business alive.
And that right there, I think if you're listening to this podcast, you need to write that one down, because when you start to scale and grow, that is spot on. The passion is only going to get you so far, because the discipline to run the business, the quote unquote boring parts where you're just trying to figure out where things are broken and how to get them fixed to continue to grow, that's where the rubber meets the road. And if you have been driving on passion only, you're going to fizzle out as soon as you start to run into those roadblocks and not be able to overcome them. Well said. All right. Are you ready for your rapid fire?
Really put on the spot. We'll see how well I can do these.
all for fun though. People get to know you a little bit better. Okay. Rapid fire, books or podcasts?
Podcasts.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, I could be both. I just depends. And sometimes I don't even go. I'll go all through the night to the morning. It depends what's going on. If I have to choose, I'm going to say right now, I'm more of a morning.
All right. Yeah. What the answer there probably was entrepreneur. You're early morning and working late. All right.
I'm around the clock.
All right. Last one. Biggest business pet peeve?
I would have to say someone who has to be in control of everything.
Control freaks.
Control. Yeah. Because it just brings a lot of negativity.
Right.
To a workplace.
Right. Good answer. All right. Here's two funny, completely stupid questions. They're just meant to be goofy. If your business today had a warning label like a product at Walmart, what would it say?
Mm. Why does catch fire come to mind? Like the very first thing that pops into my head, catch fire. Not literally catch fire like the apparel, but that's kind of me right now. I have a fire burning within me to rise this all back up. And so I have to go with the first thing that hits my mind is catch fire.
Nice.
No pun intended.
And the last stupid, funny question. You have to survive a zombie apocalypse with one famous entrepreneur. Who are you choosing and who are you absolutely not choosing?
Oh, that's a good one. The first person, and don't ask me why, is Elon Musk. Maybe he's got the ship to take off. And who would I not?
Absolutely no way. Not gonna survive a zombie
Yeah,
apocalypse with
you
this
hit
person.
me with something negative. You'll find this is a weakness of mine. I try to stay very positive. Person that I would not take. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. I think that's a
No,
good
I'm
answer. All right. Well done, by the way, Vanessa. Those are not easy to answer. So well done. Closing remark here. Closing question. If someone listening today is where you were 5 years ago, what's the one thing you'd want them to remember?
ask people to start putting processes and protections in place. I wish I would have done that and made that more strong many years ago, and locked that in. And don't give up. You're going to go through hard seasons. It's just inevitable. That's life. Keep going, and surround yourself with positive people and people that can help you rise to the levels maybe you've never been before. So surround yourself with excellent people. That's
It'll lift you up, not pull you down.
yes, absolutely.
Excellent advice. Can you tell our listeners if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about the companies that you're working on now, where can they find you online?
So I have several different companies that I am currently building behind the scenes. This is a very exciting adventure for me. So you can always find me on Facebook, under Vanessa Buckler. From there, you can locate my Visions Marketing and Consulting. You can see all the announcements. The apparel's so close to coming out, which is going to be a full movement I'm so excited about. And then, of course, I will be launching my podcast soon, Rising with Vanessa. So you can find that on YouTube.
Yeah, so make sure you check that out. Vanessa Buckler, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. It's been a real treat to have you on. I think if you are running a business right now, you should have been sitting down taking a lot of notes from someone with a lot of grit who's willing to go the distance, start over, and rise above it. So Vanessa, thanks for coming on today. If you guys haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe. I know everybody asks you to do that. There's a reason why. It helps us out a ton. So if you'll do that, like and subscribe, we'd love to have you join us. That way you'll be able to see when the new podcasts come up. And of course, always get my book, The Business Growth System. And it talks about the 4 quadrants of how to grow your business. It's how I scaled a company from 0 to 200 million in 5 years. Make sure you pick that up. And as always, stay busy and stay good. Vanessa, thanks for being on today.
Thank you, Rob.